Today, I'm sharing with you the summary of a book that doesn't just teach you how to change your life. It forces you to question everything you thought was true about yourself. And if you're ready for it, this book will free your mind in a way nothing else ever has. You already know, I don't make book summaries just to make content. I make summaries of the books that change lives. Books that have changed my life. Because I truly believe a single book can change your entire future. And today's book, it's not just different. It's dangerous. Because once you listen to this, you can never see your life the same way again. You can never hide behind your past. You can never say, I can't change. You'll learn that. It's not your trauma, not your parents, not your school, not your failure. That's stopping you. It's the story you keep telling yourself. And this book, The Courage to Be Disliked, will teach you how to finally stop. You will learn how to break free from your past, how to stop being controlled by what others think, how to become emotionally free, and how to finally take back control of your life. This is not just a summary. This is your next breakthrough. And yes, this video will also help improve your English listening, your understanding, and your confidence. But more importantly, it will transform how you think. So now, let's begin. Night 1. Deny trauma. People can change. The past does not matter. The first chapter begins with something shocking. A young man walks into a room to meet a philosopher. He's frustrated. He says, "It's easy for you to say people can change, but I can't. My past has made me who I am." He talks about being hurt, about being shy, about being scared of people. He says, "If I didn't have that trauma, I would be different." But the philosopher replies with something bold. "No, your past doesn't control you. You are using your past to excuse the life you are choosing right now." And this is the first painful truth. Truth 1. You are not a product of your past. You are a product of your choices. This book is based on Adlerian psychology, which is different from what most people believe. Most people believe in trauma-based psychology. Because this happened to me, I became this way. Because I was bullied, I became shy. Because I was poor, I became anxious. Because my parents were toxic, I don't trust anyone. But Adler says, this is backwards thinking. You are not controlled by your past. You are controlled by the goal you have right now, even if you don't realize it. The philosopher says, you are not shy because you were bullied. You are shy because you want to avoid rejection. And blaming your past is a way to stay safe. Let's break this down. Imagine a man who says, I can't talk to people because I was bullied in school. But the truth is, right now, he's choosing not to talk. Why? Because if he tries and gets rejected again, it will hurt. So he avoids it. Then he blames the past. But in reality, it's not the trauma that's stopping him. It's fear. This idea is scary because it means we have to take full responsibility. But it's also powerful because it means we have the power to change. Truth 2. You are not broken. You are avoiding responsibility. The young man says, so what are you saying? That my trauma doesn't matter? That what happened to me wasn't real? The philosopher answers with compassion. No, what happened was real. But how you choose to live with it, that's your decision. You can choose to become bitter, or you can choose to grow. You can say, this happened to me, and that's why I can never change. Or you can say, this happened to me, and that's why I must become strong. The philosopher says, the past is not something that exists now. Only your thoughts about the past exist. And here's the key message of Night 1. No experience is a cause of our success or failure. We do not suffer from the shock of our experiences. We make out of them whatever suits our purposes. What does this mean for you? If you're holding on to pain, if you believe your life can't change because of what happened to you, if you keep replaying your childhood, your heartbreak, your failure, then ask yourself, are you using that as a reason to avoid taking action now? Because the past is not in control anymore. You are. And the moment you stop blaming is the moment you become free. You don't need more healing. You need more courage. The courage to stop living in the past. And the courage to create a new future. The philosopher says, people can change, not because they must, but because they decide to. And that is the courage to be disliked. Let's pause here. Because if this lesson hit you deeply, if it shook your beliefs or made you rethink your own story, that's the point. This book is not comfortable. It's not motivational quotes. It's mental transformation. And this was just Night 1. Night 2. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems. The philosopher looks directly at the young man and says, there is no such thing as a personal problem. Every problem is a problem between you and someone else. The young man is shocked. He says, that's not true. What about my anxiety? What about my low self-esteem, my loneliness? But the philosopher calmly replies, even those are born from relationships. If other people didn't exist, those problems wouldn't exist. This is the beginning of a truth that will change your life forever. Truth 1. We are unhappy because of comparison, not reality. Let's say you live on a small island. You have enough food. You're healthy. But then one day, a stranger arrives. He's stronger, richer, smarter. Suddenly, you feel weak. You feel poor. You feel inferior. But ask yourself, did I feel that way before he arrived? No. Your reality didn't change. Your comparison did. That is the root of most of our suffering. We compare ourselves with others. We feel less. And we blame ourselves. A woman feels insecure about her looks. She says, I hate my face. I hate my body. But she didn't always feel that way. She felt fine until she started seeing perfect people on social media. She started comparing herself to people who don't even look like that in real life. Now she avoids going out. She thinks she's ugly. She feels worthless. But here's the truth. The problem is not her face. The problem is her fear of being judged by others. The real problem is interpersonal. Truth 2. Inferiority is not given to you. You create it. We all feel less than at some point. Less attractive, less smart, less successful. But Adlerian psychology teaches, inferiority is not something others give you. It's something you create inside yourself, based on who you decide to compare yourself to. The young man says, so are you saying I should just stop comparing myself? The philosopher answers, yes, because you don't need to be anyone else. Your value is not based on how high you climb. Your value is based on how far you've come, from your own starting point. 2 students fail a math test. One says, I'm stupid. Everyone else passed. I'm not good enough. The other says, I failed. But I was better than last time. I'll do better again. One compares with others. The other compares with his own growth. Which one will keep going? Which one will become stronger? This is the key difference between a life of anxiety and a life of peace. Truth 3. Self-hate is the desire to be loved. The philosopher says something even more painful. Even when you say you hate yourself, it is because you want someone to love you. When someone says, "I'm such a loser. Nobody cares about me. I'm just useless," it sounds like they're hurting themselves. But deep down, what they're hoping is that someone will say, "No, you're not. You're amazing." It's a secret way of asking for love. But here's the danger. If you keep waiting for others to fix your self-worth, you will always be weak, because your confidence will depend on their opinion. And the more you try to be liked, the more afraid you become of being disliked. Truth 4. The desire to be special is a trap. We are raised to believe you must be better than others. You must win. You must stand out. You must succeed or be forgotten. But this creates a dangerous mindset. If I'm not special, I am worthless. And this is where depression, anxiety, and jealousy are born. The philosopher says, the need to be special is actually a need to feel superior. And superiority always needs someone to be inferior. This means you can never truly celebrate others' success. You'll secretly feel angry when others win. You will never feel enough. But here's the solution. The answer: be ordinary and be happy. This is the boldest advice in the book. Don't try to be special. Just try to be yourself. Being normal is not failure. It is freedom. You don't need to be better than anyone. You just need to be you, without fear. And that takes real courage. Because when you stop trying to impress people, some people won't like you. Some people will reject you. Some people will ignore you. But that's okay. Because your value doesn't come from their approval. It comes from your heart. Imagine a young man who's afraid to speak in public. He says, "I'm not confident. I'm scared people will laugh at me. I'm scared they'll judge me." The philosopher asks, why does their opinion matter more than your own? The young man says, because I want to be liked. And that's the problem. When your goal is to be liked, you become a slave to others. But when your goal is to live honestly, even if others dislike you, that is true freedom. Every problem is a relationship problem. You fear rejection. You fear being judged. You fear not being enough. But once you accept this, you can begin to heal. The philosopher ends with this. The courage to be happy is the courage to be disliked. It's the courage to live your truth, even if the world doesn't clap. If this chapter opened your eyes, if it made you feel like someone finally understands what you're going through, if it gave you power to stop comparing and start living your truth, then remember, you are not broken. You are just caught in the fear of being judged. And once you let that go, you are free. This was just night 2. Night 3. Discard other people's tasks. You are not living to satisfy the expectations of others. The young man is angry now. He says, it's easy for you to talk about happiness and courage. But in the real world, we don't live alone. We have parents, friends, teachers, bosses, people who expect things from us. If we ignore them, they'll hate us. If we live our own life, we'll hurt people. The philosopher listens calmly, and then he replies with one of the deepest lessons in this book. You're suffering because you are doing things that are not your task. This is called task separation, and it's the secret to emotional freedom. Let me explain it in the deepest, clearest, and most powerful way possible. Truth 1. Most of your anxiety comes from doing things that are not your responsibility. Think about this. You're scared of failing in school because your parents will be disappointed. You keep saying yes to things you don't want to do because you're afraid your friends will get upset. You hide your real thoughts because you want people to like you. You follow a career you don't love because society expects it. Now stop and ask yourself, whose task am I doing? Because here's the powerful realization. It's not your job to live someone else's life, and it's not their job to control yours. This is the root of suffering. You are carrying other people's emotional baggage, and it's time to let it go. There's a girl who loves painting. She feels alive when she paints. It's her passion, her purpose, her gift. But her father says, "You can't become an artist. That's not a real job. You'll fail." Now she's torn. If she chooses art, she'll disappoint her father. If she chooses safety, she'll disappoint herself. So what does she do? She gives up her dream. She goes to medical school. Years later, she's successful, but empty. She cries in the shower. She feels numb. She lost herself. Why? Because she carried her father's expectations and never asked, whose life am I living? That is the core question of Night 3. Truth 2. You must separate your task from theirs. The philosopher explains. A task is any responsibility where the result affects a specific person. Studying is your task, but whether your parents are proud is their task. Expressing love is your task, but whether the other person loves you back is their task. Being honest is your task, but whether others accept you is their task. And when you mix these up, you become emotionally trapped. Here's what happens. You stop doing what's right for you. You live in fear of rejection. You try to control how others feel, and that leads to exhaustion, depression, anxiety, and anger. Imagine a boy in class. He has a great idea, but he doesn't raise his hand. Why? He thinks, what if people laugh? What if I'm wrong? Now here's the truth. Raising his hand equals his task. How others respond? Not his task. But he forgets that. He believes he must control their reaction. And so, he stays silent. He loses his voice. He loses his courage. And worst of all, he loses his freedom. Now multiply this behavior over years. He doesn't speak in meetings. He doesn't ask for what he needs. He doesn't say no to what he hates. He becomes invisible. All because he never learned to separate tasks. Truth 3. When you interfere in other people's tasks, you lose your own life. The philosopher says, if you try to live someone else's life, no one will live yours. You were given this one life, your own task. But if you keep worrying about what your parents think, what society expects, how your friends will judge you, then you're not living your life anymore. You're living a story someone else wrote for you. A story where you're never enough. A story where you're always scared. A story where you can't breathe. But once you realize this truth, you can start rewriting your story. Here are 5 real situations, and how to handle them using the power of Night 3. 1. When your parents pressure you to do something you don't want, ask, whose life will be affected by this decision? Your task. Choose the life you want. Their task. Deal with their feelings. You can be kind, but you don't need to be obedient. 2. When someone criticizes your dream, ask, am I living for their approval? Your task, stay true to your vision. Their task, choose whether to support or not. Their opinion doesn't define your direction. 3. When you feel guilty for saying no, ask, is this something I must do? Your task, honor your time and energy. Their task, handle their reaction. You don't owe anyone constant access to your life. 4. When someone doesn't love you back, ask, can I control how they feel? Your task, love genuinely. Their task, love or not, that's on them. Real love has no control. 5. When you're afraid to express your truth, ask, is the truth more important than being liked? Your task, speak with honesty. Their task, choose how to react. You can't be free if you're always fake. Truth 4. Freedom doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being real. The philosopher says something powerful here. When you clearly separate tasks, you no longer need to be manipulated by praise or controlled by criticism. Why? Because you stop chasing approval. You stop fearing rejection. You stop pretending. And that is the beginning of emotional freedom. There was a woman who spent her whole life trying to be the perfect daughter. She studied what her parents wanted. She married who they approved. She lived close to them, took care of them, smiled every day. But inside, she was tired, angry, dead. One day she read this book. She finally asked herself, what's my task and what's theirs? And in that moment, she stopped apologizing. She left the marriage. She moved to another city. She opened her own business. Her parents were angry. The community gossiped. But she was finally alive. She didn't become selfish. She became free. That is what task separation gives you. You are responsible for your actions, your honesty, your effort, your life. But you are not responsible for how others feel about it. The courage to be disliked means you live your truth. You speak with love, but not fear. You stop begging for approval. You do your task, and let others do theirs. That is when peace enters your heart. Night 4. Where the center of the world is. You are not the center of the world, but you are a part of it. And that's beautiful. The young man is frustrated again. He says, if I separate tasks like you said, if I stop living for others and just focus on myself, won't I become cold, selfish, and alone? Don't we all need praise, support, and community to be happy? The philosopher smiles. He says, that's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. The secret to true belonging is not to be liked. It's to contribute. And with that, we begin the deepest emotional shift in this book. Truth 1. We all want to belong, but we look for it in the wrong places. As human beings, we are born with a deep, invisible need. We want to feel that our life matters, that we are accepted, that we are part of something. But instead of seeking connection, we seek validation. We try to be better than others so they'll respect us. We post on social media so people will like us. We hide our pain so people won't judge us. We change our personality depending on who we're with. And the worst part? We begin to believe that our value depends on how people see us. That is the trap of modern life. That is how we lose our identity. But the philosopher says, you are not the center of the universe, but you are not unwanted either. You are a member of the community of people, and your happiness begins when you decide to contribute to that community. This is what Adler called community feeling, and it is the key to emotional healing. Truth 2. Being special separates you from others. Contributing connects you. Let's go back for a second. In the last chapter, we learned that trying to be special is a trap. Because when you want to be special, you automatically compete with others, judge others, see yourself as above or below them. It becomes, I'm better than you, or I'm worse than you. But never. We are equals. This creates jealousy, isolation, and constant pressure to prove your worth. But true happiness does not come from being admired. It comes from being connected. It comes from feeling, I am not alone. I am part of this world. I can give something. There's a man who works as a janitor in a school. He cleans the halls every morning before students arrive. No one thanks him. Most people don't even notice him. He's not special. But one day, a young boy walks into school crying. His shoes are broken. He feels embarrassed. The janitor quietly takes out an extra pair of shoes he keeps in his supply room. He gives them to the boy. No words, just a warm smile. Years later, that boy becomes a teacher. And when asked who inspired him most, he says, "The janitor who gave me shoes without asking for anything." That janitor was not rich, famous, or special, but he contributed, and his life mattered. That is community feeling. That is the meaning of this chapter. Truth 3. The world does not revolve around you, and that's freedom. When we believe we are the center of everything, life becomes heavy. If someone ignores us, we take it personally. If someone criticizes us, we feel destroyed. If someone doesn't smile back, we overthink. But the philosopher teaches, people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. This is not an insult, it's a freedom. Because it means you are allowed to make mistakes. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to control how others see you. You can just live, breathe, be real. You are not being watched by the world. You are being invited by it to participate, not perform. There's a girl who walks into a party. She's nervous. What will people think of my dress? Am I too quiet? Will they like me? She tries to impress. She laughs too loud. She acts like someone else. She goes home feeling empty. Next time, she remembers Adler's wisdom. You are not the center of attention. People are too busy thinking about themselves. So she goes to the party again. But this time, she listens more. She asks how others are doing. She helps serve food. She comforts a friend. And for the first time, she feels like she belongs. She didn't try to be liked. She simply showed up and gave love. Without fear. That is the shift. Truth 4. Happiness is not about receiving love. It's about offering it. We're taught to chase things, be beautiful, be rich, be talented, be admired. But Adler flips the question. Not what can I get from life, but what can I give to life? This mindset changes everything. When you speak, speak to serve, not to impress. When you work to contribute, not to dominate. When you love freely, not conditionally. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, how can I help? That is where real confidence comes from. That is where true peace begins. Truth 5. Unhappiness comes from self-centered thinking. The philosopher says something bold. The more you focus on yourself, the more you will feel dissatisfied. Why? Because when your whole world is, what about me? Why am I not happy? Why don't people care about me? You close your heart. You shrink your vision. You forget that happiness grows only in connection. The more you shift your attention from self to service, the more your pain disappears. You are not here to be special. You are not here to be better than anyone. You are here to contribute, to connect, to be part of something bigger than yourself. And when you stop trying to prove your worth and start living with love, humility, and service, you begin to feel what you've been missing all your life: belonging, meaning, peace. You don't have to be liked. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present and helpful in the life around you. That is the true path to happiness. If this chapter made you feel emotional, if it opened your heart or made you cry quietly inside, that's because it spoke to the part of you that has always wanted one thing: to matter, to be part of something. And now you know. You already do. Night 5. To live in earnest in the here and now. The only life you truly have is the one you live in this moment. The young man returns for the final night. But this time, he's not angry. He's quiet. His eyes are wide. He's been shaken. Something inside him has shifted. He says, "Everything you've told me these past nights, it's heavy. It's real. But now I have a question. If we are not controlled by our past, if we don't need praise, if we must contribute without needing recognition, then tell me, how do I live my life? Right now, today, with all the fear, all the pressure, all the uncertainty, how do I live, fully, honestly, and without regret?" And the philosopher replies with the most important answer in the entire book. Live as if you are dancing, not to reach the end, but because every step matters. And that is where Night 5 begins. Truth 1. The goal of life is not to reach a destination. It's to dance through the journey. Most people think life is like climbing a mountain. Study hard to get a degree. Work hard to earn money. Get married to be complete. Work harder to feel successful. Keep going until you retire. Then finally, you can be happy. But this idea is dangerous because it means happiness is somewhere far away. You can't rest. You can't enjoy. You have to keep climbing. And then one day, you look back and realize you spent your whole life preparing to live, but you never actually lived. That is the pain of modern life. There was a man who spent 40 years working at a job he didn't love. He told himself, "I'm doing this for my children, for retirement, for the future." He woke up early, came home tired, missed his child's birthday, postponed his vacation, suppressed his dreams. At 65, he finally retired. But his body was tired. His wife was sick. His child had grown up without him. He sat on the porch and said, "Where did it all go?" He climbed a mountain for decades and forgot to dance along the way. That is what this chapter saves you from. Truth 2. Life happens only in the present. The philosopher says something deeply true. The past does not exist. The future does not exist. The only reality is now, and the only life you can live is now. But what do most of us do? We regret the past. I shouldn't have said that. I ruined everything. We fear the future. What if I fail? What if I'm alone? We miss the moment. I'll be happy when... And so we suffer. In two places that don't even exist, the past and the future. But peace only lives in this moment. There was a girl walking on the beach. The sunset was beautiful. The waves were singing. The breeze was soft. But her mind was screaming, "What if I fail the exam? Why did he stop texting me? I'm not good enough. I'll never be happy." She was physically present, but mentally elsewhere. So the sunset passed. The moment ended, and she felt nothing. This is how we miss life. Not because life isn't beautiful, but because we're not there to feel it. The book teaches us, happiness is not something you chase. It's something you notice in the moment you are in. Truth 3. Live in the moment, not for the moment. Some people here live in the now and think it means party, escape. Don't care about the future. But that's not what Adler is saying. He's saying, live in the present, with responsibility, with love, with awareness, not to escape life, but to experience it fully, one moment at a time. It's not about distraction. It's about attention. Pay attention to the person in front of you, the words you speak, the food you eat, the sky above you, the work you do, the heart that beats inside you right now. Because if you keep waiting for a big moment, you'll miss the millions of small ones that make up your life. A boy struggling with anxiety went to a monk for help. He said, "My mind is always racing. I can't stop worrying." The monk said, "For the next week, I want you to do one thing. Brush your teeth with full awareness. Don't think about anything else. Just feel the brush, smell the toothpaste, hear the water." The boy laughed. "That's it?" But he tried it. On day 3, for the first time in years, he felt peace. Not because his life changed, but because his presence changed. That is the power of mindful living. Truth 4. You don't need to be someone special to live a special life. Many people don't live fully because they believe, "I'm not ready. I need more success. I'm not important enough." But the philosopher says, you are living now. You are already complete, and your life has value, simply because you are choosing to live it earnestly. You don't need to wait to start. You don't need to be rich, famous, beautiful, or successful. All you need to do is to show up for your own life, with full presence, full heart, and full courage. Truth 5. Live as if you're being watched by no one, but living for everyone. The philosopher ends with a story. A man walks into a garden alone. He sees a dying tree. He waters it quietly. No one sees him. No one praises him. But he smiles because he knows he did the right thing. That's what it means to live with courage. Not for applause, but for contribution. So ask yourself, can I live today? Not to prove anything, but just to be fully alive? Can I love someone? Not to get love, but just to give it? Can I do my work, not for status, but because it matters? That is the path to joy. Truth 6. You can start over every morning. The philosopher tells the young man, you do not need to carry yesterday into today. You do not need to wait until next year. You are free, this very second, to begin again. And that is one of the most hopeful things a person can hear. Because no matter your past, no matter your pain, no matter your age or failures or fears, you can say, today, I begin again. Today, I will live with courage. Today, I will be present, honest, and free. And that's enough. There was a woman who lost everything. Her husband died. Her business failed. Her children stopped calling. She sat in her small apartment and cried every night. But one morning she opened a window. The light touched her skin. The air smelled like rain. And she whispered, I'm still here. She made tea, sat quietly, listened to a bird, and for the first time in years, she felt alive. She didn't fix everything. She didn't become rich or famous. She just decided, I will live this one moment, earnestly. And slowly, step by step, her life returned. Not because she fought for success, but because she showed up for life. That is the meaning of this chapter. Life is not something you prepare for. Life is not something you chase. Life is not something you wait to begin. Life is what you do right now, in this very breath, in this very action, in this very step. You don't need to know your purpose. You just need to live purposefully, in this moment. That's what it means to live in earnest. That's what it means to have the courage to be disliked. That's what it means to live free. The young man finally understands. He stands up. He smiles. His eyes are no longer afraid. He says, I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. I will live today honestly. I will live today bravely. I will live today like it matters. And the philosopher nods. He doesn't say anything, because some lessons don't need to be repeated. They just need to be lived. This is not just the end of a summary. This is the beginning of your new life. If you've come this far, if you felt the pain, the hope, the truth in these words, then promise yourself this. Don't wait to be liked. Don't hide behind your past. Don't live for applause. Don't wait for the perfect future. Just begin. Here. Now with courage, with honesty, with presence. Because that's the only life that truly belongs to you. So now you've heard it all. 5 nights. 5 conversations. 5 truths that have the power to change your entire life. Not tomorrow. Not next year. But starting today. And maybe this summary made you cry a little. Maybe it made you think about the people you've been trying to impress, or the past you've been carrying like a heavy bag on your back. Maybe for the first time you realized you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be special. You don't need to be liked by everyone. You just need to live with honesty, with courage, and with presence. Because life is not waiting for you at the top of some mountain. Life is happening right now. In the way you smile at a stranger. In the way you forgive yourself for yesterday. In the way you stop and notice the sky above you. You don't need permission to begin again. You already have it. And if this book has taught us anything, it's this. You are free. You are enough. And you are allowed to live your truth, even if the world doesn't understand it. You don't need to chase approval. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to have the courage to be disliked and still keep going. If this summary touched your heart, if even one moment made you see life a little differently, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it, rewatch it, live it. And remember, this video wasn't just a summary, it was a mirror. A mirror showing you the strongest, most peaceful, most honest version of yourself. The version that's been waiting for you to wake up and say, I am no longer afraid. I choose to live, right here, right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with your whole heart. And thank you for having the courage to become free.